All right, we're running. So your podcast setup's a little more.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger and a lot less efficient than this one right here.
Really?
So, but yeah, when space is limited in the months of spring, I really covet that little 6 square inches of podcast recording equipment right there.
Well, we are back with a podcast, and I've got how long? I mean, we've been talking about doing this for a little bit.
Yeah, a couple months at least, if not, I think we mentioned it maybe at the NWTF convention in Nashville.
Right.
But.
So Hunter Farrior, founder of Spring Legion, which I really want to get into, just the background story, kind of all that. And, it's turkey season right now. We're in an Edward Jones office.
Yeah.
Which, we've been bouncing back and forth of like trying to meet up, and ended up in some office. If you're watching the YouTube video, and we're in a pretty blank room, it's not too exciting, but
it's not only the best we could do, it's surprisingly better than I thought we would wind up
for
in,
sure.
Yeah. We had kind of mulled over a couple different plans of, well, we're both hunting out in this area or something. Well, I talked to a buddy, and he's recorded several in a hotel lobby and just acted like he had a room, and just stuff like that.
It's funny, like we were kind of talking about it earlier, because y'all have got y'all's podcast, and we've got ours, and it's like we were just kind of comparing the differences in like equipment and stuff like that. And that Pelican case, I mean, that's it's just been kind of pop it out wherever and record wherever you can. We're trying to, because we've actually launched like a weekly schedule now. But we have like a table, and we're actually like trying to have a legit like kind of place to have a podcast place. But to this point, it's really just been kind of pack it up and unpack it wherever. Which
those make the best episodes. We kind of did the same thing. We made a stationary kind of quote unquote set to record on with fixed angles of cameras and stuff, and then that lasted. I mean, that was a lot. It was probably 6 weeks of work. Recorded for about a week, stocked up on 20 episodes maybe. And after that week, we're like, put it back in the box, we're hitting the road, and then we start coming to places like this, you know, and those wind up being 10 times better than the ones you get to think about.
Yeah, I feel like they maybe feel a little less staged. But it is kind of nice, like when we have someone come in town that we can kind of go to a spot. But I love just like taking it on the road and just plopping down wherever you can. And we were talking about this too, like this has become my favorite bit of content that we do, because like I love talking with people, I love hearing people's stories and just getting to know people. And this has been an amazing platform to do that, to just like dig in a little bit deeper with people.
Yeah, it's one we've been doing for a few years, and it was on a whim, but it's really crazy. If I really sat down and started writing names of folks who I have their contact now because of this podcast, little gig, it's really cool. And some of them, that's the only time I ever talked to them, but I'm like, I know I could call that person if I needed to, if I was in a pinch off in, Minnesota or something like that. And then some of them we text every day since for the past 3 years. So it can open up some really cool doors.
The last podcast I did was with a buddy of mine. His name's Jason Whitlow. Have you met him?
I'm not sure. I don't think
he's kind of, if you see us at shows, he's usually kind of around. He's super good dude. I've been friends with him for like 3 years, but it's like I knew his story, like, but more of his story, not like him really telling me his story. And his story is like tragic.
Really?
I mean, he lost his mom to cancer, and then I think it's like 8 months later, his dad was killed, and they had a timber company or tree removal company, and Jason's brother was cutting a tree down, and the tree came down and started coming down on top of his brother, and his dad basically dove and pushed him out of the way. And the tree hit and killed Jason's dad. And I knew that, the very high level, but like I've known him for 3 years, and it wasn't until the podcast, the last one we did, where he told me everything. And it's like, that's why I love this, what we're doing. It's just like, it really gives you a chance to just like, hey man, let me hear you. Like, And
that's, and putting it into perspective, I wonder how many folks want to say stuff like that, maybe, and haven't been asked, given a good opportunity to. So
yeah, for
pretty
sure.
Cool on both sides.
Well, this is one that I've wanted to do, and we'll kind of let it go wherever it goes. I don't really ever have set plans. I just kind of let the conversation roll. I do have maybe some topics that I'd like to discuss, but I've wanted to do this one because I've wanted to do it with a couple other guys who are just really, really deeply into the turkey game, into turkey hunting, who live and breathe it. It's almost like it's a religious thing.
Yeah.
And my perspective is so different because I didn't grow up turkey hunting. I didn't have someone that took me. I didn't have any places to go. I didn't have someone teaching me like, hey, this, that, and not only how to turkey hunt, but why we turkey hunt. And there's just such a deeper meaning to turkey hunting than what I kind of originally thought. And so my perspective is just a little bit different. Now my perspective has changed a lot after doing it the last 3 years. And so I've always wanted to sit down and kind of like compare notes, like talk about maybe some things I've learned, and then obviously hear from someone who I would consider to be, a professional turkey hunter, really. A very, very, very skilled turkey hunter, experienced turkey hunter.
Some days.
And kind of compare notes a little bit, and just kind of see like what I've learned, maybe get into some tactics and stuff with you. But
and you'd be surprised at how much I learned from folks who have a newer perspective of it. It's one of those things that, you visit the same place every day, you stop noticing cobwebs in the corners, but the first person different person walks in, the first thing they're going to notice is what you overlook. And
for sure,
I've learned a lot from, some novice turkey hunters who point out some stuff that they can only explain in very, very, I hate to say dumbed down terms, but like this makes the most sense, and someone who's been doing it for years is overthinking it so bad.
Yeah, and I think that like the second you quit being a sponge, that you quit trying to learn more, is the second you just like
going backwards.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Because I've been deep into our style of deer hunting for a long time now, and you would think, oh, you've got it figured out. But it's like every single year I'm just still scratching my head at times and still learning something every single year, and learning from people that have way less experience than me, or just have different stories and things like that they've experienced. And
that's the if there's a secret to turkey hunting, it is to, from the get-go, understand you'll never be that great at it on any given morning. It's that bird and you and that situation, and it might not be the same tomorrow, and it might not have been the same yesterday. So there's no outline to how to turkey hunt. It's figured out as you go. And I'm telling you, I'm humbled just as much as the next guy. I didn't kill turkey today. There's a lot of folks who did kill a turkey today. So today I wasn't a professional, obviously. Somebody must have been better. But that's the beauty in it.
I hate to throw the word professional. I think that's kind of such a dumb word, but just very experienced is what I mean. And what I've learned in my very little experience is that there are some days where you're like, yep, I got it figured. And then there's some days where you're just like, trains off the tracks. It's like, I don't know nothing.
No sooner than you think you got it figured out, there's a turkey's a lot smarter than you. It's going to show you how much you don't know. But that's what makes it fun to me. That's that's the little addicting ingredient they pour in there, I feel like, is the part where anything can happen, and the second you get a little confidence, it's just, and I'm a big, folks who listen to ours know, I'm a big, it's turkey hunting culture is different than a turkey hunting community. It's for folks who were kind of raised in it, especially in the South, Mississippi, Alabama to Georgia and stuff like that. I was kind of getting tired of long turkey hunting when I was like 3. I wasn't even really going in the woods. I was just going and waiting, for my dad to hunt and come back and hearing how it went down and stuff like that and everything. And he taught me a lot. He instilled a love for turkey hunting in me, but then the actual turkeys probably taught me more than anything.
Yeah.
Just getting out there and learning from the real thing. And turkeys are the best teacher on the planet if you'll let them be. And that's the first, kind of step, is to understand that, if you want to learn how to turkey hunt, your best option, my best option, everybody's best option is to go turkey hunt and figure it out.
I would agree with that 100%. And my experience has been, which I had, I love bass fishing. That was my springtime deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of it also had to do with, I lived in Atlanta, and it's like, I didn't know anywhere to turkey hunt really. I didn't grow up in a hunting family. So it was just like, it wasn't something that was kind of readily available to me. And I was so obsessed with fishing that I couldn't see past that in the springtime. I didn't care about anything else. I almost didn't even play, baseball in high school. And that's where to this day, I still have some of my best friends are from, high school sports and stuff. And it's like, I almost didn't even play baseball, something I loved a lot because I was like too obsessed with fishing.
Yeah.
And so that kept me kind of out of the game early. But when we started doing it, I would go on occasion. I had a couple places that had some turkeys, and I got lucky early on where I'd killed one or two. But I would only go maybe once a year, maybe twice a year tops. But, when we started really doing it was when we were hunting with Jay, and Jay's super experienced. And I've learned, and I'm tying this into your point, I've learned that that's good and almost bad because I'm learning from him and his style, and I'm seeing how he's having success. But he was almost handicapping me in a sense because whenever we would go, it was like he's doing the calling, he's calling the shots, we're doing the, we're going to make this move, this, that, and the other. And I was kind of like handicapped in a sense where it's like it took years for me to be like, you know what, I've realized what's happening and I need to learn on my own. And so the first couple of years, like I almost feel like I didn't really learn all that much just because I wasn't experiencing it myself. It wasn't me and a turkey.
Right.
That was, where the lessons were being taught. It was me just watching Jay, and it was obviously amazing to watch him and learn from his style. I mean, he's a very good turkey hunter, but I agree to your point fully that it's like, you're learning the lessons from the experience of doing it yourself.
And this and turkey hunting, and that's what makes it special, especially to me, is it's a very interactive pursuit, and it's there is interaction between the hunter and the hunted. There's a degree of that to every kind of sector of the outdoors period, but it's you really are communicating. There's a feeling in every communication, and that's I joke a lot about I have a much more respect for folks who are able to film hunts and do stuff on in the one half of their brain operates something that's not a call, that's not listening or watching or understanding what the turkey's doing, because I got ADD as much as the next guy, but it's hard to do anything besides focus on this conversation because millisecond timing. What was the intensity level of this yelp of this hen, kind of, just parameters, going nonstop in the back of my mind. And this just from past experiences of communicating with, wild turkeys. And, if you've never been, the second best thing that can happen is you go out there and get lucky and shoot one. But the very best thing that can happen, day one is you call up a real hen and get to hear what she really does.
100%. Yeah.
That's going to teach you 1,000. I wrote 2 books that are best-selling turkey books, and I'll be the first to say that's not your best option. Your best option is go find a real hen and let her teach you everything, And I've had some good mentors, and they'll tell you the same thing is, what I say is, pretty good, but you want real, info, real, stuff that you can use.
Yeah.
Go get a real thing.
I'm still to this day, when I have trail cams on video mode and I'm getting audio of hens yelping and stuff, I save them all the time.
That's a goal.
Yeah. And like, it's crazy how much rasp is in a lot of them.
And how bad they sound.
Horrible. It's like, it's like, you're like, man, I don't think I've ever heard anyone actually call like that, because it's so raspy that it's almost like hard to replicate.
And so many folks get, kind of caught up in how good they sound on this call and that and everything. And like, y'all go listen to some hens. They're the worst callers out there sometimes.
Yeah.
And it definitely don't hurt to sound really good. There's folks who win competitions, and I wish I could sound like that, mainly for the sake of controlling, pitches and volumes and intensity and all that. I just don't have that much control over, on a mouth call or whatever. But Man, a real hen sounds kind of, it's a very broad, it's a lot of, the rhythm of it is pretty consistent, but it's, it doesn't sound like what you hear on a commercial most times.
No.
And learning what the calls mean and timing of them,
See, that's where that's where I really have not learned that.
Mm-hmm.
I have not learned, what that hen is like,
right,
what she's trying to say and what I'm trying to say back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know, it's like, it's almost like if I were to say, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And you answer, the sky's blue.
Right.
Like the wrong
Mm-hmm.
answer almost.
Yep.
Like I haven't learned how to communicate when to call, when to not call. Now I am, and I actually learned something that I feel like was a light switch for me a week ago, or last week in Tennessee. And but I haven't learned, like, when to stop, when to do what calls. To me, I'm still stuck in this, like, I'm just kind of yelping.
Yeah.
And if they're calling back, then I guess I'll keep going.
Right.
Like,
that's progress, like, and most of the lessons you'll learn is from a turkey telling you what you should not have just done. And they will remind you that, every time you go back and don't hear him ever again, that's whatever you did last, don't ever do that again, because that turkey hunting, you got to be 100% and it still might not work. 99% might as well be 0%. It's got to happen to every nth of a degree. And then it's up to the bird whether or not he wants to or not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like, man, sometimes there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah. And I have definitely learned that there are times where there's just nothing you could do.
Yeah.
And that's just the game.
You just lose.
It's just the game.
Mm-hmm.
What I learned and you mentioned the camera thing earlier. What's been unfortunate for me in my turkey hunting so far is that, like, imagine someone was following you around with a camera the first time you're turkey hunting, and they're, and you're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Which I love that, folks who are able to do that and, like, are willing to show that progress and stuff like that. That'll recruit in a good way to me.
But, like, you talk about a little bit of honesty.
Oh, I know.
Honesty here. Some embarrassment on my end when it's like I'm trying to do an owl hoot.
Oh, gosh.
And it's just trash.
Dude.
And people are in the comments just being like,
props to you. I can't even do an owl hoot by myself without laughing. If somebody else is with me, I don't care if it's my brother. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it because you're going to make fun of me. And I'll be by myself and I'll get mid-February, no one else is in the woods. I'm like, today I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a good hoot. And I get to the first, like, who, and I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do it. What if somebody hears me?
I know. Dude, I don't think people think about that, but, like, that's been my world with turkey hunting the last few years, is that like I'm genuinely trying to learn. Obviously I'm going to suck at first, like, and when I make a bad call or whatever, it's like, here comes the army in the comments.
The war.
But to your point too, like, I think it is cool that, like, when you watch someone like yourself or like a Dave Owen, it's like, or a Jay, it's like you're watching the end game, not the end game, but like someone who's already gone through that learning curve.
Right. Don't think for a second we didn't do the same thing.
I'm hoping that when people watch us, maybe they're seeing a little bit of the, like, progression of things.
And that's why I love that, because, especially already having an established audience, I wish more than anything I could have I'm very thankful I didn't, because I know exactly what you're talking about. The nerve that would probably never leave having a camera on me first few times I went. It still happens to me if somebody's following me with a camera. But I do wish I had something of record of how bad it went for so many years.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I'll look back one day and I can laugh at the early videos and be like, man, that outfit was trash.
They weren't wrong in the comments. They were just being honest.
Man,
could have toned it down. But
some of these guys are quick to jump on it, which I can't help but laugh at. I agree. I think it's funny, but there's, like, comments like, man, these guys suck. It's like, dude, I agree, man.
We know. No, I'm just kidding.
But
and turkey hunters are a brutal community to do anything. You can, win a Nobel Peace Prize and that you didn't win it right, kind of deal,
Yeah, I've learned that, and I know that's part of turkey hunting, but I also like that in a sense. Like, there's deep passion there.
Right.
And I think that's why a lot of emotion comes out in turkey hunters is there's so much passion there.
Yeah.
I love that part about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open to criticism and comments like that because, you know, I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it this way too. I was like, you know, I've been turkey hunting for 3 years. And I mean, I've hunted turkeys, you know, years ago, but like actually trying to learn to actually turkey hunt
Mm-hmm.
and consistently, like, you know, put myself in positions and things like that to hopefully take one. But probably the last 3 years, I'd say. And I completely lost what I was about to say.
I can't help you there. I don't know.
Dadgum.
I was tuned out. I was looking behind you.
What was I? Dude, I totally blanked on what I was going to say. Oh, this is what it was.
What?
Okay. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I'm 3 years into turkey hunting. I'm like, I feel like I should have figured more out by now. And then it's like, man, I've been deer hunting for 16 years or whatever it's been. And I think back on it. I'm like, when I was 3 years into deer hunting, it's like, well, if I'm comparing that to my turkey stuff, it's like, I didn't know anything
Mm-hmm.
3 years in. I knew nothing. And so I have looked at it through that lens of like, man, it's still early
Mm-hmm.
for me on the turkey side, but I do feel like things are clicking for me. I've found certain techniques I'm good at. Like I've gotten a lot better on a slate call.
Mm-hmm.
Mouth call, I can get some tree yelps and just like some soft yelping and stuff, but I really can't sweet talk on a mouth call at all. So most of mine has been slate call, doing most of it, and then when it's, you know, kind of crunch time and they're close is when I'll put it down and just try to finish it with.
That's a very good point to keep in your pocket is whatever you're, you know, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, turkeys are very quick to judge and very honest in their review of how well you are at a craft you're trying to act like you know what you're doing. I still, you know, get critiqued by turkeys left and right, the ones that remain unkilled. But if you stop doing stuff you're not good at, you'll kill a lot more turkeys because you're trying to be nothing. You're trying to be a tree. You know, that tree is not going to make a sound if you weren't there. You know, I mean, a good, you know, it comes down to woodsmanship, which is a whole day's conversation in itself, what the heck woodsmanship even is. But, you know, if you really bank on that and bank on your knowledge of past experiences and what you have learned from turkeys, calling should be, I'm not saying like in a matter of importance, but like
Almost secondary.
Yeah, not even that.
Yeah.
I mean, like 15% of it, you know, and then like literally of the time you spend with a turkey. And I've learned this is kind of not necessarily a theory, but I've come to realize more so that, you know, if you want to kill a lot, the extra, you know, the last one of your limit in a state or something like that, when you figure out how to not call until you need to call and you only call once or twice and kill it not long after that, you know, putting yourself, the hard part is finding a way to put yourself in position to where when you call, all it does is turn him around or turn him, you know, pull him through a spot, you know, instead of trying to call him through all this junk and, you know, yada, 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 being patient and understanding turkey movements, understand the habitat, understand their behaviors, time of day, time of year, that particular turkey's temperature on that particular hour, not what it was at daylight, but what it is at 9:30, and then readjusting at 10:30 if you have to, if you haven't killed him by then, and being where you have your best opportunity to utilize absolutely nothing at all. Just utilize silence. What can I entice him with at this, you know, point, and then by doing nothing at all, make him have to do this. You know, put him in a bind where he has to walk around something to take a look where he can't help it, you know, and silence will kill him way more than how good you are at calling. So, you know, if you're not good at calling at all and you have a box call from Walmart, which will wholeheartedly kill a turkey, you don't need a million of them. I mean, if you have literally anything that sounds kind of like a turkey, and if you don't use your hand and scratch some leaves, that'll work just fine. It's just when, you know, I've sat there for hours at a time waiting on that 2 minutes where I can and then shoot him 10 minutes after that, you know.
I would say the vast majority of the turkeys that I've killed in the last 3 years have 100% been from position. Just woodsmanship, I guess, but just like putting myself in the right position of where that bird wanted to be.
Right.
And it was had way less. I promise you, I'm not calling these birds and they're like, oh man, that's the hen right
I don't
there.
do that often either. Don't worry.
And my success has definitely been from right place, right time, just being in the right position. And I will tell you that the big thing that clicked for me this past week was we were in Tennessee and we were in this, there were some pastures kind of out front that went up to this main road, and in the back behind those pastures were just kind of rolling hardwoods.
Yeah.
And there was a big, super overgrown clear cut behind us. It's so thick, birds wouldn't go through that. At least I wouldn't think they would. And then we're kind of in between a couple birds or whatever, but there's two birds that are two gobblers, and they're in the roost gobbling like crazy. I mean, every single call they're answering and hammer back, and they pitch down, basically straight down. We're on the top of this little hardwood ridge. They're kind of down in this little bowl, and I'm sitting there on my slate call, and I had dropped further back. Now, this is one thing I learned is if like we had Kendall and Drew, and they were the shooters. So I dropped back 40 yards or so behind them. Because I can't tell you how many times that I've gotten them to that bubble.
Yeah.
And so I've been a big fan of that technique is to fall back so the call-in sounded a little bit further away. And so I did that. I'm sitting there doing the calling on my slate call, and it's like every call they'll gobble. It's like sometimes they're, and I don't know if it's they're just turning, and so they're gobbling at us or gobbling in a different direction. But at times it sounded like they were moving away from us.
Yeah.
And I don't, after 20 minutes of this, where they're just sitting in that bottom and just I'm yelping and they're answering every call. I was like, they're saying come to me.
Yeah.
And this goes back to I didn't have somebody that says, hey, the hens go to the gobblers.
Right.
I didn't know
step
that.
one.
I didn't know that. Seriously, I did not know that until recently. Like
they're biologically wired to go to the gobblers.
Yeah.
Not the gobblers come to the hens.
I didn't know
You're
that.
trying to reverse all of that,
Yes.
from the get-go. So it's not easy to do.
No.
You got to give yourself some credit.
But you talk about like the level of knowledge I had going in.
Yeah.
It's zero. Like literally.
Yeah. Even more impressive.
So it just clicked to me like that, they're saying, no, you come to me.
Like everybody else has this morning.
That hen's interested. You come to me. That's why he's gobbling. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to shut up. And I'm just going to scratch some leaves like this hen's like bored of y'all, not even thinking about y'all anymore, and she's just going to feeding. So I start scratching. Pow!
Yeah.
And I'm like, keep scratching. Pow! I was like, dang, they're closer. And it was like, it just clicked for me where I'm like, man, I went to ignoring those birds.
Yep.
And that's when they were like, she's ignoring us. And they went to go check it out, and that's what killed that bird.
They're prideful birds, and that's what I'm saying. Like you had a conversation. You weren't talking to them. That created a conversation out of there was a meaning to it. There's feeling. There's emotion. Not to get like too into that, but like, there's a difference in just telemarketer's voicemail and then talking with somebody. There's a big difference. You can say all the right things in the right tone and the right cadence and everything, but like until you change it a little bit, and I've killed a lot more turkeys out of their curiosity than just like you said, persuading them to come over here and check it out. It's where did she go? Now you scratch it. Now there's another turkey. Is that a gobbler? Because he hadn't gobbled. That better not be another gobbler. And I can't not think. They weren't coming necessarily to like breed the hen. They were coming to look and see what that was scratching. Maybe there's more than one. Maybe that's not the one we thought it was. Maybe there's now a long beard with them or a Jake with them, or why is she not answering me? She's supposed to be, and there's a reason that it just gets the best of them. They have to come look. And a big part of that though was y'all being above them. Reverse the roles, and they don't have to walk in at all. They can just look down.
Can see.
They'll just look down and see you, or see that there's not a turkey there, and they'll sit there and like you mentioned, that bubble that they get caught up in it's It took a long time for me to realize that's not a turkey thing. That's a turkey hunter thing. You create that way more than the turkey is wired to be safe. You know, it's a matter of setup, and that's 80% of it is sitting which tree you pick. And it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Folks who don't think it's a big deal, it's a very, very, very big deal on which tree that is. The length of this 8-foot table is a very, very big difference in whether or not you can kill a turkey or watch one gobble for an hour. It can make that big of a difference. And you know, that's something that I will sit there for 30 minutes and a bird is hammering less than 100 yards from me, and I'm still like just twiddling my thumbs. And if I'm home, somebody like, dude, just sit down. I'm like, you can't just sit down. Sometimes you can, but you don't sit on your butt. You might get you got to move. You know,
got to get to where you want to be.
Right, yeah. And it's got to, you know, using the terrain to play literally every scenario. If he comes this way, what will he have to walk around? Or if he comes this way, it's too open between us. He can see all the way to me. I'm not in enough stuff. I'm not. There's no reason for him to walk through this. You know, you see big pretty woods, and a lot of folks want to go sit in them big pretty woods because you can see everything. Well, a gobbler can see the whole place. Why would he walk into the middle of it randomly to look around what he can already see? You know, you got to find something to put between you that he's got to walk into the pretty place to see around. Or a good analogy is, you know, you take a field, and you know, if you're standing in the middle of the field, you can see about 5 feet into the, you know, a wooded perimeter around it. So there's a bunch of hardwoods on the other side. In mid-spring, you know, foliage is pretty full. You just see a shadow and some tree trunks. You know, you got to walk over to that edge and look in there, and you can see it's wide open even. You know, you can see 300 yards then, but you got to go to the edge to see it. Not go stand 5 feet into the woods and look in the field. You can see all the way into the field. So thinking like a turkey, you know, he's going to stay on that edge and look at that open spot, you know, because he can see everything without being seen. And when you get on a corner of that, or, you know, something like that, or know that, you know, you can pull him all the way to that the next to last edge, and he'll stop there almost every time if he can see enough. And that's when the moving back starts, or silence. He's not necessarily coming to where you are, but where he thinks you were. And you're just happen to still be there with a shotgun, you know, and that's what kills it. But playing that aspect is going to, you know, open up a lot of door for opportunity, and sitting there about 10 minutes longer. A lot of folks get up and leave. I used to do it a lot. Call one good last Hail Mary, hoorah, and nothing answers, and you leave, and then
how many times is
you
it
get
when
back
you
to
get
the
up?
truck and boom, right where you were. And it's because you just didn't say anything. It's not because you left. It didn't watch you leave. It's because you know, they communicate with drumming and stuff that a lot of folks, you know, unless your ears are kind of tuned to hear and course it, you know, he's still responding. You just don't know it. You think he's ignoring you, and he's not. He's still communicating with you, but your kind of blind calling will make it seem like you're still interested, and he still has a chance of calling you over to him. And when you stop completely, a lot of folks, you know, when they leave is the first time they stop completely for longer than 5 minutes. You know, then that's all it took. If you just did it 20 minutes earlier and just sat, you killed him.
Yeah, I think it was last year that I maybe last year was when I picked up like that you want to be above them.
Yep.
Because of the visual thing. It's like if it's, I'm not gonna say it's almost impossible, but it's way more difficult for a bird to pick his head up, be looking all the way down, not see what he wants, and just be like, nope, and just go. Yep. So it's so hard, and I learned that just from a lot of times of being below birds, you know, and it's
a bad spot to
that
be
clearly didn't work.
Yep. They can see, and then also, I mean, just the anatomical or physiological, their legs bend backwards. I think it's harder for them to walk downhill, and from a danger standpoint, if something's, you know, if there's a coyote at the bottom of the hill and they got to turn around and run uphill and then fly with the parallel angle as the, you know, inclination and land, they're not gaining ground against whatever's running. But if they're walking uphill, they're just more comfortable. You know, they're walking uphill, something pops over the top, scares them, all they do is jump. And they're clear, they're alive.
It was, so when I was in hunting, or I was in Montana last year, and we were in this just washed out drainage. I mean, it's like the walls going up are literally about straight up and down, on like almost 90 degrees. And we found this bird that was at the very bottom of this drainage, and it's like this. The drainage is only 40 yards across, so it's like, all right, we're gonna get above him in that drainage. He's gonna walk up that drainage to us. He has to. He cannot go up these sheer walls. So we put ourselves in the right position. I'm like, I don't even have to call. I can just sit here. He's gonna walk by 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That joker walked up that daggum. He found a little trail, a little route, and he went about straight up to that wall. And it's like, I mean, I'm telling you, it's like 40 foot high. We're sitting there at the base in the middle of this drainage, and we see him walking up on the top of the ridge. I was like, you have got to be
How do you
kidding
not have respect for something like that? You know, like,
me. I know.
like that's, I mean, so many times you just got to tip your cap and go,
Well played.
yeah, you win. You know, like I dished mine, you know, the best card I had, and yours is better today.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's what I've started to really fall in love with the most about turkey hunting is the game.
Yep.
You know, with a deer, it's like, you know, if you're targeting one deer, it's like you can play one game the whole year. And maybe you play that game for multiple years. For me, it's been multiple years. Turkeys, it's like you find one and you read the situation and then play the game. And it's like, man, I lost that game. You know what? Go find the next one.
Yep. Or play him tomorrow and it's going to be a different one.
Yeah. Or keep playing it with him. Yeah.
But it's, and that's the beauty in it is turkey hunting is chess when a lot of folks want to condense it down into just being checkers. And it's so reactional, and also there's a proactive stance to it. You know, you'll never make a turkey. There's nothing a turkey will always do, and there isn't anything he'll never do. I mean, like you said, like he will climb a mountain. The second you think he won't, you know, swim the Mississippi River, hunt one on the Mississippi River long enough, and they will. I mean, they will do everything, and they won't never do anything that you think they might not. Everything is just probablys and most likelies, and like I've seen them do some stuff that I would have never ever in my life think a turkey would do, and I'm like, how in the world did he survive this? You know, get through here alive? You know, and that's why there's. I mean, every minute, every day, something's after them. It feels like, you know, and they know the woods so much better than we do, and that turkey right there, like some of them know him real good, and if there's higher ground to get, they're gonna get it, you know. And that's why he's still alive. It's the difference in you know, getting it, you know, a meal and a cool pick, and him being dead or alive. You know, that's how big of a deal it is for him to make sure, you know, being disciplined in there, you know, it's more instinctual for them, but the discipline of like, if there's higher ground, take it, because if not, you know, it could be life or death, you know. And a lot of times we'll do that. And you got to give them the higher ground, but make sure that higher ground's within shot range of you. And you're kind of trying to position yourself. And I did this literally yesterday. I mean, everything was right. Like I said, 100%. Every single thing. I'm 80 yards from a rooster longbeard hammering on a limb. He has no idea in the world. He's gobbling at my footsteps like I'm a hen walking. You know, I'm like, surely he doesn't think I'm on the ground already. And that's not a good feeling, by the way. Some folks are like, that's awesome. I'm like, no, not when you're not ready. When he's gobbling at you walking on the ground, like I'm doing my best to not let him know, you know, I exist, and he thinks I'm a hen already. And, you know, you can't really scratch it, you know, before the sun's even up, you know. So, but it's at that time, and I had actually walked under some hens, and they made a little, you know, chatter leaving, and he thought they flew down. And when I was walking, he got and went, oh no, he thinks I'm the hen, flew down early, and I'm coming to him. And I'm really trying not to. I'm trying to get above him, and I was able to get above him. And I picked the daggum tree, and I'm like, this is it. You know, I'm 25 yards from where he's gonna have to land. This is the only place he can land, and that is, you know, and then that puts him about 20 from as far as I can tell, the only place he can, you know, get up here and see. And, you know, I'm scoping him out, whatever. Sure enough, he falls down. You know, a gobbler will kind of spiral down, and the hen will kind of fly down. And sure enough, that big body just, he's on the ground. I hear scratching, sticks breaking and stuff. I'm like, he's trying to get up here. But, you know, I guess 99.9% of me doesn't really know what's on the other side of that rock. And if I'm lying him dying, you know, he's 35 yards walking up at me, gets behind that rock, and I still haven't seen him since. I don't know which way he went, where he could have gone if it wasn't underneath into the earth. Yeah. You know? I mean, there's nothing I would have changed about that. I had it perfect. I had him, you know.
But that's what makes it fun, though. Yeah. You know? If it was always easy, you'd quit. You'd lose interest in it.
I have no idea. Like, went and looked for tracks. His tracks stopped at that rock. Yeah. And I'm like,
just poof, gone.
Yeah, I mean, I never saw him again. Never saw him in the fields after that.
I had a bird in Alabama. This is again several years back now, but I've been calling to him. He was always roosted in about the same spot, and I'd always call to him. He'd gobble back, and just he was an older, smart bird. And I went in there for about the third or fourth morning at this point, and I'm just like really slowly creeping in there, and it's kind of just like rolling hills, little low spots, little high spots, and I'm just creeping through there and just. And he just like, I'm in this low spot, little rise, and he's probably in the adjacent low spot. And he just, pow! I mean, like, dude, 60 yards.
Yeah.
And so I'm literally caught with my pants down. I'm just like, gotta sit down. So I sat down. And again, this is early on. And I saw him already, gobbled again. I'm like really close. He's about to pop his head up. And I didn't realize that all they need is a quick peek, and that's and then gone.
That's it.
And that's it. I was like, oh, there's his head. He's going to come walking right over this hill.
He going to stay there.
No, it was like all he needed to do was poke his head up, peek, and back down, and he's gone.
They have the audacity. They won't even put at you. Just let you sit there like an idiot for another 2 hours thinking like, here he comes, he's coming. And he is long gone. He's probably watching you. And that's the personal side of it. Like, that's what you get, like, quote unquote, like mad at him. Like, yeah, I'm mad at him now. I wasn't this morning, but I mean, maybe look like an idiot in front of nobody, but still, I know it, Yeah. And they'll just, I mean, that's all they need. And I call it periscope. They just stick the head up. And if there's nothing, if it's not exactly what they want to see, and they put themselves in those positions, instinctually. And it is a fun game to play when if you verify as long beard or whatever, know what you're shooting at, but a few I've killed that do the whole look up and hold it just for long enough, and a lot of them have seen me and put it, and they just want another look. And I'm like, you just got to guess left or right. If you guess the right one, they're going to stick it back up one more time and you can shoot. But 8 out of 10,
the one look
is over
done.
with. You ain't getting a shot.
Yeah, it's the game that's kind of gotten me hooked
to
it.
Yeah, and you're going to lose a lot.
And I wish that, I really wish that I would have more opportunities to hunt and not film.
Yeah.
Because it'd be learning lessons, but, it's what I do for a living.
Right.
And so I kind of have to. Otherwise, I would be hunting 7 days a week if I had to make time to hunt without a camera. And I know that when the one time that I don't have my buddy who's filming, I'm going to have the most unbelievable hunt that I'm like sitting there kicking myself wishing that we had filmed.
That's how it works.
But, I do wish that I had enough time to hunt without a camera to just go learn and learn and learn. But,
and it's one of those, like, as a consumer and a producer of a different, a different realm, but also, both having brands and stuff, that, it's not an obligation, but, that's, like you said, that's your job. But B, like, you have an opportunity to impact folks, and it's kind of one of those things, like, half of me is like, you don't know what tomorrow holds, but you can hunt, for fun later. Not necessarily for fun. It's all fun, but, it's the opportunity to have an impact, a positive impact in outdoors might not be forever. You know, so, you want to utilize that. And I know a lot of folks are appreciative that y'all are able to do that and reach a bunch of folks and, put a good light on it.
Yeah, and that is kind of what, we started dabbling with the turkey stuff because it was just like, well, that's kind of the next thing. Like, our deal was deer. It's like we never really did the turkey stuff, but we got into it and we quickly learned, like, man, we've got to do this a certain way. And it wasn't intentional. Like, it wasn't like, for example, with Jay, it was like he always had a strutter decoy and he was, would fan turkeys. I just thought that was normal, like that was what everybody did, kind of thing. And so it's like when we started out, we had a fan. It's like almost the first thing we went to get was like make sure we had a fan. It's like we quickly learned it, like, with the culture of it, that's not a very popular thing. Right. And so it's like, we had to kind of learn that early on, of like, how do we paint this in the right light? How do we, we do have this platform and this, a message to give.
Mm-hmm.
My heart has always come from a love for the animal, always. And it's always been that way for deer, and it will always be that way for turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm as I've kind of immersed myself more into the turkey hunting culture, like I have very strong opinions about certain things that are shown in today's world of social media about turkeys. And I don't have near the deep love and passion that a lot of people like yourself and others do have. And that's my point to, people that were leaving some comments like these guys suck at turkey hunting. I know that comes from a place of like, these guys are extremely passionate. I love that.
Yeah.
But, again, my core value in hunting is love for the animal.
Yeah.
And when we started doing the turkey stuff, we just didn't have the full knowledge or experience or scope of like the culture of it all to realize, that we wanted to paint the right picture. And maybe early on when we started doing it, we weren't doing that. And so we've kind of learned, and I hope that, from going forward, that will continue to grow stronger. But one of my favorite things to do is like when we do have success and we do kill a bird, and I've started to do this on the deer side, I will sit with the turkey for as long as it until it feels right. And that is my favorite moment of the entire hunting experience is, you've won that game with that bird, and to just sit there and I'll say a prayer. I'll just sit in silence, and it's just like hitting the pause button on life and just really like kind of soaking in that moment.
It's an accomplishment. I mean, it's a lot of times, I mean, your body's got to readjust because you'll get so, invested into these moments and stuff like that. And I mean, and even going back, I'll speak on behalf of turkey hunting culture, that it is much better to see, regardless of what some idiots comment, but it, is much better to see someone failing at doing stuff in a difficult way. It's not, you don't want to make everything more difficult, but in a fair fight kind of type situation, I would much rather see, folks struggle at it than folks who are, automatic, with manufactured things, so to speak, more, and just that and they don't get the experience of, what we have talked about, like that moment you spend with a turkey would not mean near as much. You probably wouldn't do it, kind of deal. It would, did what'd you win? It's kind of, if it was odd, if you knew you were going to kill that turkey, pretty much, they would be near as special. Yeah. And if it wasn't for that one who just vanished behind a rock, I've been doing this for 20 years, and they still can vanish on me. If I kill one tomorrow, it would not mean as much if it weren't for that one,
Yeah.
So, but it's hard to kill a turkey, I mean, let's call it what, kind of how it is. And folks who get discouraged that they're not killing them this way or that way. But I mean, and there's certain people who are wired, differently than others. Obviously, we're all individuals. I'm glad we're not all the same. It'd be a really boring world. And, it's one of those things, like some people try to, what do I need to buy to kill a turkey? What do I need to acquire to kill a turkey? And then some folks, what do I need to learn to kill a turkey? How many times do I have to fail before I can succeed? And then, that doesn't go away. The intangibles of it, the stuff that nobody taught me but a turkey a long time ago that whooped my butt so many times in a row. I've killed a lot of turkeys because of that failure years later still even. And then some of the ones who told me, hey, do this again, because it worked on this one or whatever. Well, that turkey's dead. You're never hunting him again, period. What worked on him ain't going to work on the next one. Not necessarily. It's just a matter of, happenstance at that point. Just understanding that it is very singular, developing if it's 2 hours, 2 days, 2 years, you can develop a relationship with an animal because you are communicating with them. And there's emotion in that, in an odd way that you don't mean for there to be, that, you get, fired up and you get quiet and you get this and you're responding to him and he's responding to you. And, he moves his, chest piece. Well, he's going to go this route. And you're like, well, I wasn't expecting that. So, but I know a way we can do this and get up here, and then that'll make him come down here and we'll go up here. And if the wind blows at this exact time, we can make a move and get down here. and it's up to him at that point. Let him. The last choice is his move.
Yeah.
And you just happen to make the right just move to be ready for him to make that very, very move.
Yeah.
And it can be complicated, but it's so simple at the same time. Because these birds will, like you said, climb a mountain, will swim a river. Will, I've seen them literally just get drugged through thickets, all over the place to just not get killed, and then, God forbid, a stick be in the road, and they can't walk past it. They can't walk around it.
Yeah.
That shadow is. They will stand there until that shadow leaves that road, and they'll just walk around the shadow, and you're just like, God,
I haven't experienced that yet.
They will get on your nerves, and they're just like, they and some stuff doesn't make sense, and you can't make it make sense because it doesn't matter that much to them. Like, I know it's a life or death situation, yada yada, but they wake up to eat, breathe, not die. Period. And that's they don't have a watch. They don't care how long you have to sit there, or how long it takes for this shadow to leave.
They got all the time.
They're not going to walk
in.
Yeah. And they're just quirky like that, and they'll get under your skin, and you'll start changing things. I've changed camouflage because the wind wouldn't stop blowing, kind of deal. I'm like, if I'd have just stood, taken a step back and just evaluated the weather, understanding barometric pressure, it had nothing to do. They weren't seeing me. I was just calling so freaking much because they wouldn't gobble, because I thought it was me, and I thought they'd figure me out. So I'm running up to the surplus city and buying 7 new calls and trying every single striker out. Maybe they'll think I'm a different hen. No, they don't think I'm a different hen. It's just the barometric pressure's low, and no bird. Look around, like there's no woodpeckers, there's no crows, there's no owls. It's nothing you're doing.
Got to read the room.
Right. It's just the room is silent, and you're not, and they know it's you.
It's funny. So we were in Alabama this year. I was hunting with a buddy, Dustin Connell. He's a professional bass fisherman, and we went to this. We were at his brother's place. We went to this one area. Barometric pressure was low. Mm-hmm. Didn't hear a gobble. Yeah. And I'm like, they're just not here, boys. They're just not here. Mm-hmm. And it was like. So then it was just, you're like, there's no birds, period. Yeah. They're just not around. We go back the next morning, and the barometric pressure had risen, and it was like, there were 6, 7, 8 of them. Oh yeah. It's just, they were everywhere.
And that's just, you can't help that,
No. If they don't want to talk, They ain't going to do it.
You can't make them do anything. And I remember being like literally 13 or something, and walking outside, like a storm had come. I think I wrote about it in a chapter in this book, and it was just like the chapter's name is The Learning Curve, like me figuring out, hey, this happens, so this should happen, and go in and find out myself. Like a storm come, didn't hear no gobbles, front pushes through, and I walk outside. I'm like literally outside, like doing something, and I noticed all of a sudden the birds all of a sudden just clicked on, like the Tweety birds, the robins, and all these, mockingbirds everywhere, blue jays and stuff, and they're going crazy. My dog finally comes out from under the porch, where it's been for 2 days. I'm like, I bet you turkeys are doing the same. And I hop in the truck and go, and like they are on fire at 11:30 a.m. and where the same footprints I was standing 3 hours before that was silent. Mm-hmm. Just kind of look out in your backyard and see what the world's doing, and if they're act like a turkey, they're gonna pick you out if you go in there and try to start the party. You got to ease into the party and ease out of the party. If you're able to do that, you'll go unnoticed, and you're not going to hurt your chances the next time, if you're on private land or something like that. And then, you get into public land, and you just really hope the next guy does the same. Doesn't come in and try to start the party, and if you can't hunt him tomorrow. And there's different mentalities for hunting public and private and stuff like that. And some of the tougher turkeys I've ever hunted were on private, and it's because I'm the one who hunted them, and they knew it's like they read my playbook, Yeah. And that's a hard turkey to kill, just as no different than a turkey who's been hunted by several other guys. That's still a different playbook. It's a different team kind of deal, You can go in there and throw them one thing new, and it's, unconsidered up until then. Yeah. But that's your one shot, then he knows yours plus everybody else's, and it can get real tough to kill after that.
So take me to the beginnings of Spring Legion.
They kind of really derived off of a lot of the, I'm not gonna say misperceptions of turkey hunting and turkey hunters, but it looked kind of like the overall kind of consideration of turkey hunting and what it means to me and what I grew up knowing it as, and what a lot of folks who are, part of that little, the culture side of it that have a very deep rooted history and heritage with, turkey hunting and specifically more so in the South and all that. It looked like it was kind of taking an odd angle. Folks were trying to monetize it in ways that, you could kind of take advantage of the bird a little bit. Their technology was catching up big time, and folks were just kind of, they just cared about killing them. They just really, they were just comparing numbers of birds killed all the time. Every time you talked to one, nobody was talking about, kind of the tough ones and stuff. And you talk to a real turkey hunter, and that's not the case. That's, you ask them how many they've killed, and they kind of look at you like, don't ever ask me that, Not that, you never know kind of what they're going through, kind of, so to speak, those kind of conversations. And it's always, one or two, and they never hear any, and they haven't even been yet half the time. And, it's very undisclosed matter to some of those folks in the cult, so to speak, I guess. But there, there's a demographic to turkey hunters, and I wanted something to make sure that didn't die. Folks are, and we sell turkey hunting apparel and stuff, but there's certain things that smells like turkey hunting, and certain sights and sounds and stuff you hear only during these months. And like, I was impressed driving over here to Georgia because I pulled out of Mississippi and kind of got going east, and I'm like, man, this pretty dark shade of green there. The early spring is gone, and I hate that because I got to wait 300 days to see that again. There's only certain times you get to smell these kind of smells. You start smelling honeysuckle, and you're like, well, one thing comes after that, and that's the gobbles decrease drastically. Stuff starts happening, and you're like, man, I got to wait a while.
I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
a good rule of thumb. A lot of folks say when you start, smelling honeysuckles, the goblin has already peaked.
Really?
Or something like that. I don't know, but depends on where you're at, I guess. But I've always heard that. And then I'll start seeing honeysuckles everywhere. I'm like, that gummit.
It's winding down.
And it's and then one's blowing out the water. I'm like, all right, they were wrong. But yeah, something to just celebrate that. I mean, we were literally and we were winging all of it. And it was just when we started, me and my brother were living in like a rundown trailer in Mississippi. I just moved back from New Orleans because I figured out they ain't got no turkeys South Ponce terrain. So I moved up like literally late February, and was working up Mississippi, and I kind of had my feel of just, you get on social media, and the way turkey hunters as a people was just really portrayed as just a bunch of idiots. People, they just they didn't have a handle on what they would say and what they were, kind of trying to portray themselves as just glorified poaching, glorified, lawlessness and stuff, which, I mean, a lot of folks do group turkey hunters and outlawing into the same thing. And a lot of the good ones aren't, they really aren't. And the good ones are the ones who have the great, appreciation for it and stuff like that. And you can kind of pick them out, when you start weeding out the folks who are kind of bluffing, they're the ones who try to make it seem different than what it really is. And yeah, I was just like, man, more power to them, but I don't have the authority or right to say anything, and I especially don't if I don't have something to counter it, or if there is nothing in existence that could counter it. So I was like, I'll start a brand that's just for turkey hunters as I know them to be. They just really appreciate the spring woods, really appreciate the bird, and all the humblings that come with learning how to turkey hunt, and just the stuff that for the folks who get it, so to speak, and those who are cut from that cloth. And I think a lot of folks are born with it. I think you're born in the right area from the right, bloodline. You understand. And then some folks, I know a lot of folks that I've met as of recent who are later in life, being more, brought into it. And it is no different. Like they think, well, I wasn't, raised in it, or I didn't, grow up doing it, or I'm not from that cloth, apparently, whatever that means, I must not ever really, really understand it like they do. But I'm telling you, like what they're able to feel and see and stuff like that in a matter of years, short years, is no different than what, it's kind of instilled in, me and my buddies and stuff like that who grew up doing it. But yeah, we made a couple hats. Didn't tell anybody that we were making them, just wore them to see what people would think. Some folks did like them.
How old are you at this point when y'all, making your first hats and stuff?
20-something, 27, 26, 27 maybe, probably.
How old are you now?
31.
Okay.
So it's about 5 years.
5 years. How'd you come up with the name Spring Legion, though?
it's symmetrical on the hat, which does go into stuff. The domain and all socials were available. I had a little criteria I was kind of going ahead, and this was the first one I tried, and it worked. So, but I wanted spring in there because it was, mainly talking about spring, and I wanted Legion in there as an excuse to tell folks about the 10th Legion, which was a book by Tom Kelly, who that's going to tell you everything you need to know about.
See, I didn't even. I knew that Legion was a strong turkey word. Didn't know why.
Yep.
So it's called the 10th Legion is a book that was written.
Yep, by Tom Kelly, and it is 1973, I think. If you're wondering something about turkey hunting, go read that. You got it. You read one chapter and you'll understand.
This may upset you and maybe people listening. Please tell me who Tom Kelly is.
I don't blame you for not knowing. That's why I did it. A lot of folks don't have the opportunity to know that unless you're born in this cult strip. Yeah. And it is the best words you can, bind together that way better than I've been able to do. And quite frankly, everybody else who's tried, regardless of media, regardless of format, platform, everything, what he was able to, write in 73 is the best hope or chance at encapsulating all the things that folks aren't able to describe about turkey hunting. And he was able to do it. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what he was able to do. Didn't even mean to, I don't think. He's very, very skilled at a craft that he didn't know he was even a craftsman at, and that being writing. He writes turkey hunting books. He's still alive today, late 90s. But it is, I hate to say it's like the Bible of turkey hunting, if there was one. It's the whole thing is quite accurate,
Well, who was the? So I watched, and I need to finish it, but the documentary with Mr. Fox and was
the
Tom
other
Kelly.
guy is Tom Kelly.
That's the other guy. Okay, I got it now. Gotcha.
And so he was, and a lot of that I was able to figure out during that documentary when I was watching it too in West Point. I'm like, I didn't know he did that. Got a company kind of just stemmed off of in his respect, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I watched the first half, and then things get hectic. It was amazing, and I need to go back and finish it.
It's pretty cool. It's I think it's on YouTube now, but yeah, it's pretty cool to see how, in a nutshell, I ain't gonna spoil nothing, but those two, Mr. Fox and Colonel Kelly, were kind of the last two of that generation who really did revive the turkey population to a very big extent. Didn't do it themselves, but members of the folks or generation in which did. And it kind of goes back into folks who and stuff that they that Colonel Kelly had written or that Mr. Fox had said in the past and stuff about one day there will only be one or two left and nobody will even know it kind of deal and the irony or the the fate of them kind of being the last maybe two it's pretty cool. But it's the stuff that folks like me say is hard to explain. Colonel Kelly was able to explain it point blank.
Gotcha. So I need to read that book.
Yeah, you need to get you one. I'll give you one.
I've got to read your. I need to read your book too.
I got you one of them, but read mine first. Don't read it after his.
Don't want to compare it to his first. Okay, gotcha.
But no, it's and it really did inspire the name Legion and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I would not have written a book if not for that book. If not for 10th Legion, obviously. It is, and there's a very, how like duck hunters are with dogs. Like I think they love them way too much, and I love dogs. I love my dog. I have a duck dog. I don't duck hunt. I don't enjoy watching them work. Like duck hunters, I don't get that. But like, there's just certain things that I'm not gonna say like deer hunters with a moon, but I'm saying like just certain things that are connected to different avenues of the outdoors, and like for some reason, or like. I'd say like maybe more, it's becoming more popular heirlooms and turkey hunting, but like the heirlooms and duck hunting, the old passed down stuff and the, the duck camo kind of deal. You hunt with what was given, everything has a purpose and a meaning, but like riding and turkey hunting is kind of always been kind of holding hands, so to speak. It's just, nobody writes a lot of deer books, but a lot of people try to put into writing about stuff about turkey hunting. For some, I don't know the answer to that, but it's just kind of one of them things, and I didn't want that to get lost also in, in the advancements of, a progressing world, so to speak. The brand itself, Spring Legion, we made some apparel and stuff. Now we're making gear, making gaiters and shirts and hats and pants and all kinds of stuff. We got, dabbled into a million different types of medias and stuff, trying to film hunts. Not good at that, still trying, but
as long as you're still having fun with it,
yeah,
that's the whole deal.
And I'm like, I'm not going to not kill a turkey.
I know.
I do not have that bone in me.
It's the hunter first.
I can't. I've tried, and I'm like, I got to do it. If y'all don't do it, I'm gonna do it. Work too hard for it, but it's just to pay a respect, more so to kind of where that deep culture lies in turkey hunting, and something to celebrate that. Those who get it, there's people who hunt turkeys, and there's turkey hunters, and then the mere chance of being able to tell somebody about Tom Kelly's 10th Legion is worth, half a name. Making sure that happens. He can take it from there. Or the the perception in the eyes of the beholder, or however that goes, perceiver, something. What you do when the seed's planted is up to you, kind of deal, but. Just given an opportunity to talk about, how rich of a, culture it is. And then the same thing with that book is pretty much, it falls into self-published everything. There's probably grammatical errors in there that I'm probably never going to get around to changing. But it's, it talks a lot about not necessarily how to hunt turkeys or anything like that. There's some stories in there that you might be able to pick up some stuff. But it's kind of hard on the sleeve. Like, this is why right here, if you hadn't experienced this, you'll get there. You'll have your own opportunities to establish that why. But, and here's mine. If nothing else, if I die, somebody doesn't have to wonder, I got it it's in the Library of Congress in DC or something right now. So you can always pull that and understand why I might have done some of those things back then, if nothing else. So is your book and what the Ballad of a Turkey Hunter, is that, what would you summarize it as? Is it your why? Yeah, a lot of why in there, and yeah, I'm not going to say it's a why for everybody, but I try to think. And some of the chapters is more personal, and some of them are more as if I was explaining to somebody who doesn't turkey hunt at all and wondering why are they kind of off the rocker sometimes, Yeah. And this is why, Yeah. Explain some of it and explain some of the frustrations. And there's a turkey that took me 83 times to kill, and he's got his whole chapter. That was half the reason I got to give some kind of respect to this bird.
That question, did you name that turkey?
If I did, it'd be damn it. That's what I said in the book.
See, that's why, some people think deer names are stupid, but to me, it just gives it a little bit more of a personal touch to that deer, as opposed to just I'm hunting that deer. It's like it is corny. I'll admit it. Like, it is kind of corny to name a deer or something, but to me, it comes from a place of it provides more of a connection point that I'm referring to that deer as this, as opposed to this nameless thing. It's that's why I named them a certain something.
And I also like watching y'all's videos and stuff. There. I understand it a lot more. I'm like, cause I appreciate him a little more, so to speak. I'm like, then when you mention him or something, I'm like, oh, he's going after that one. I remember him talking about that. I know what happened on that last hunt or whatever, or he's going back after one, or something's right, daylighted and going back, and I'm kind of catch myself actively checking to see if he has yet, from the sidelines, like I wonder if he has, because he better tell us if he did, but no, and it was war for me and this bird, and that's all it was. It was just I literally quit jobs, broke up with girlfriends, everything.
I was told to ask you about the girlfriend thing.
Yeah.
That there's some girlfriend story.
There's a couple in there. I don't want to spoil too much, but no, I did break up with a girl because of that turkey. Yeah. And I had to, It was. I mean, I didn't even kill it that year.
Had to.
Yeah, she done had a new
turkey
boyfriend.
put you in the corner.
Right. She done found a new boyfriend by the time I even killed it. Probably.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, I've quit a lot of jobs. Some from that turkey, some from a turkey I didn't even know was there. I quit the last job I quit before I went full time doing spring leisure stuff. Like, I remember waking up the next morning like, it's probably it. You know, I'm really burning some bridges here, but I'm tired of waking up and being 48 degrees and either me not being able to go turkey hunting or me getting in trouble for going turkey hunting. So I was like, this is gonna be it. And the next morning I went out and didn't hear a single gobble. I went, well, now what? You know, they weren't even gobbling. You know, kind of wish that wouldn't happen. And I'm like, no, I done dug a hole now. I got to go. And so we went 90-0 after that. And I was like, make it or break it from here on out. And luckily, my presumption of folks, not there being far fewer folks cut from this turkey hunter, you know, lineage, cloth, whatever you want to call it, that understand it without explanation. There's more than I thought. Not saying it's more popular, but there's more. It's very like a silent majority type deal. You know, you just don't see them a lot. You don't hear about. That's a characteristic of a lot of them is they don't talk about it a lot. And Colonel Kelly and you know kind of his description of turkey hunting as it was in '73 and as it was now and ever more is they recruit novitiates carefully. I mean, or they defer them rather than recruit them or something like that. They don't want new turkey hunters necessarily. The last thing you want is to let people know about this. And that's the one thing I wanted to kind of change was to put the opportunity out there for folks to understand how deeply rooted it is. And so many people's, not DNA, but into their, their whys and their purposes and their, somebody, likes turkey hunting, they've quit a lot of jobs, and that's their why they quit a lot of jobs. They ain't, settled down much, and, they're creeping up on 40 or something like that. I'm telling you, a turkey make you do a lot of stuff that normal, quote unquote, folks wouldn't do, and that I would never think I would do half the time. But
yeah, see, I understand it from the lens of the sort of. I still haven't been able to figure out a word that describes, because it's not an obsession. It's beyond that. It's like water. It's like you can't live without it.
Yep.
It's like air.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine like my life without the deer hunting. I literally can't. I would be so lost. Like I don't know who I'd be.
Yeah.
And that's a little scary to say that like my identity is so much into deer hunting that it's like if you remove that from my life, and I don't care about what people think of you as a hunter. I'm not talking about what people's perception. I'm talking about if you removed hunting from my life, I just would be forget the cameras. Any doing this for a living, doesn't matter. Like I just don't know who I'd be.
Yeah.
It would be. I feel like there'd be I don't know, just very, very lost. And so I think I see that in you with the turkey side, that it's like you can't imagine almost life without it.
Right. Literally. It really it depicts every decision, And I remember vividly. I probably got a screenshot of it or something. It had to have been while chasing this one turkey. And the reason I'm not able to kill this turkey is because he's smart. He's seen a lot. I know you read the book and find out why he is the way he is. Yeah. It is not what you think it's going to be. But it was, that day I killed it. it was the moment I got it.
So you did end up killing him?
On try 83. And it, and I was like, and like the quietest woods you've ever heard ever after that. Like so many days I went to sleep thinking about this. So many things I've sacrificed because of this one bird that's laying here and I'm touching it. I actually wasn't on a trip out west, with the rest of my family. Like, I'm not leaving. I can't leave. And I'm younger at this time. I'm not, necessarily old. And I'm like, I can't not, nothing is more important than this right now. And it wasn't even like killing it. It was like, he expects me to be there. I've got a duty to uphold. I got to go try him. Like, he's going to gobble and wonder where I'm at, because he knows I'm going to be there. He knows it's me. He knows I'm not a real hen. And but I still gotta honor that, expectation of like, I can't quit on him. I can't throw it in the towel. But I do remember I was in the middle of all this probably, and it was, a torrential. It was the worst goblin weather you can think of. I don't know if I'd do this now, but it had gotten to me so bad I'd come home from college or something, and was just in a stint of bad turkey voodoo or something, and I'm out there, and it is like my parents having to tell me like, come home because it's tornado warnings or something. I'm like, but I remember my dad like understands like the fact that you're probably one of maybe 5 people in the whole, and this was one of those like squall line taking out the South kind of stuff. You're like probably one of 5 people in the next 5 states that's holding on to that shot, that one chance, what if you just happen to make it happen today,
Yeah.
He said, that's what makes you a turkey hunter. He's like, that's how you can tell, when you really just don't let go of that minute possibility of maybe there's a chance of finding out. It's not the trying to kill one or trying to, it's finding out, can I, and so the addicting part comes down to just as strongly to the you can't, finding out. I want him to tell me, make me believe that I can't kill him,
Yeah.
And there's always that chance that renews every day, every hunt. So just being able to find it out it's not like scratching an itch, but it's incurable. But for a moment,
incurable is a pretty fair word.
Mm-hmm.
You're speaking my language because I get it it's just on a different side.
Mm-hmm.
There's deer. There's one buck right now. This is upcoming on my 4th year of history with him.
It's awesome.
And there's not a day that goes by that he's not on my mind.
Yeah.
Like literally, there's not a single day in the last 3 years that deer has not been on my mind. Literally every day.
I can understand.
And it's it's just like, but man, it's like if I didn't have that deer to hunt, it's like, it's that lost, like
nothing.
I just don't know what I would do. Like I've put in, collectively, we've put in over 100 miles looking for his sheds. We found one of them on mile 75. Wow. And it's just like, an incurable.
Yeah.
It's not an obsession's not. It's almost like it doesn't do it justice because it's such a commonly used word, and it's like what certain people are just like or just totally consumed with. It supersedes like an obsession. It's crazier than that.
It's not even. It's almost just, it is life as it to be. It's a constant. It doesn't,
Yeah.
It isn't
and it's to some
variable.
people, I think that would probably think like, that's stupid. Like
I understand
they just don't get
that.
it.
I understand why somebody would think that.
For sure. I get it too. Yeah, I get it too. I'll tell you a quick story that kind of makes me emotional, but and I wasn't even really involved in the story. It was a buddy of mine, Kyle, that was hunting a buck in Ohio last year, and this previous season, I think he shot it, and I won't get all the exact details, but I think he shot and missed him, and then I think he had another encounter where the deer smelled him, and Kyle was like he knows me, he knows my scent, like he knows I'm after him. And there was I think some other encounter type things, like in the summertime he got a new spot, and he Kyle never saw the deer, but this thicket was downwind of Kyle, and the deer blew out, and so it's like Kyle was like, he knows I'm still here, and this was like the summer after the winter where he already blew him out.
Wow.
And so this is where it got deep. So he's hunting this deer, and I think he hunted it like the first, couple weeks solid of the season. He ended up killing it.
Mm-hmm.
And he shot it point blank from the ground.
Wow.
Really close with an arrow. And deer goes out, falls down, and he didn't tell me about this until weeks later because he was like, dude, it messed me up.
Yeah.
He's just like you, and he's just like me in that he deeply loves these animals. Deeply has that passion for pursuing these animals, and you get so connected. Again, like why we name these deer, you get so connected that it's almost like that deer has a personality, and it has to have a name, it has to have an identity to you. And he had named this deer Metric, and he didn't tell me this until weeks later because he was like, dude, I'm telling you, it screwed me up. So he shot this deer. He sees it fall. He's like, there's a sadness and it's respect.
Yep.
But there's a sadness, and he gets it like he's deep into it. Mm-hmm. And so he's like feeling this sadness, like it's over, this multi-year journey. It's over, and he's walking up to this deer that he's lived with.
Yeah.
And he said that he went and went down to pick up his antlers, and when he picked up his antler, that the deer like looked at him and like had just enough life in him, where he like looked at him with his eye and then just like pulled his head away and like pulled it out of his hands. And he said he just broke down crying because he was like, that deer smelled me, saw me, knew me, and it was like the last moments of his life.
Right.
He knew who I was and that I was, the one that killed him. And it's like when he told me, like I was getting emotional.
Yeah, I don't even like deer hunting. I'm like,
but it's just like it's so much deeper than what people understand, and I get how a lot of people would look in on this and be like, that's so dumb. Like it's just a turkey, it's just a deer. Who cares? Like, but it's a lot more than that, and you can't learn that until you just fully immerse yourself into it.
And I mean, just even going to that story, I'm thinking of like instances. I'm like, I mean, there was a time where I could have shot this turkey and it didn't seem right. And I've never done this before, and I probably will never do it again, not shoot turkey. And I don't know how or what. If it was any other turkey, I would have done it. I wouldn't have showed not nearly as much remorse, maybe a little remorse, but not much. That's why I go in the woods, is to kill something. That's the purpose. I'm not beating around that bush, but like that couldn't have been it, kind of deal. Like he saw me, looked me in the eye, and I never even told this story on our podcast or anything, but I went in there. It's the only time I've ever done this. And the only reason a buddy reminded me of it the other day. Just a story he told reminded me of this, and I kind of erased it from my memory. But Mississippi season ends on May 1st. I'd gone a whole first time since I killed a turkey that I know of, which started when I was like 7 or something. And I was in my 20s at this point. The first year that I can recall of not killing a turkey, and it was the last day of the season. I'm like, I'm about to go, over first time in my life, and it was revolved around just one turkey, and that's the only turkey I could hunt technically, that was on ground that I had permission. So and I'd invested, and I knew that was the cost of you. If you don't win this one, you don't win any kind of deal, and that'll take a toll on a man's pride, confidence, everything over time. But I was like, if it comes down to May 1st, I sit on that roost tree and I'll shoot him, before he flies up. And I did. And he walked in and I went, nah, like knowing I've got 9 months to think about this.
Not like this.
And like, and it just so much ran through my mind of what am I going to think about for 9 months? Like he might die tomorrow, or, I won't know it, but I mean, there's a characteristic to this turkey to know that it was the same turkey. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's him. And he walks up and he looks me right in the freaking eye and he's like, you got me. I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't get you. I could have, but this ain't getting you, not like this.
Go that way. Yeah.
And it wound up going into the next season, and it was kind of the same look of, you got me. I'm like, I got you. Kind of this time I really did. Fair and square,
And then you did get him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And then for the first time in years, the voice got quiet. Like every time I drove by, there's life in it. It's like it's a little glowing almost. Like I know he's there. I know he's not getting out of here, and there's a reason he's not leaving the spot. Mm-hmm. And not knowing that until after I killed him, every puzzle piece connected. I'm like, that's why he does this. That's why he did this. That's why he did this 3 years ago. Pretty wild. But having that type of relationship with a one animal is just, I haven't had that happen since. I probably won't.
Yeah, there are certain chases that are once in a lifetime chases.
And I hate to say I've already had mine, but I've already had mine. It's kind of a down thing to think about, but I don't see that happening. Especially with turkeys.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it. Turkeys being like multi-year chases. I've always thought about it with deer because deer can live 10, 12 years, and
identifiable a lot easier than turkeys are.
It's funny. I did a story on my Instagram yesterday of a buck that has been over 170 the last couple of years, and he's just got knots coming out of his head. But he's I know it's him, I cannot tell you. I did a story. I was like, this buck's been over 170 the last couple of years. Like, excited to chase him or whatever. I had so many DMs that were like, how do you know that's that deer? That's like, dude, I've stared at him for the last 4 years. I know exactly.
Whiskers he has on his left side.
I know exactly. Yeah. I know exactly what he is. And there are certain characteristics about him. He has an underbite, like a really bad underbite. He also has a scar on his back right foot from 2 seasons ago that he still has. So like there's certain identifiers like that that let you know. But even without those, you just know. When you spend that much time, with an animal or chasing an animal, so much about them. It's like I could tell you if it was that deer. I can also
yards away.
Yeah. I have a pile of sheds in my house. I love shed hunting. And I've played this game. It was actually my brother that brought it up. He was like, he goes, "You think if you close your eyes and I picked a random shed out of that pile of horns, that you'd be able to tell me which one it is?" I go, yeah, easily. He's like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, go do it." He's like, I'll come home and he's done it like 5-6 times now, where he thinks he's got the right shed. Then I'm not going to guess, but I'll close my eyes and I'm not cheating, and I'll hold the antler and I'll be like, "Yeah, that's that deer from this year," and I'll tell him the story. And it's like, there's just such a personal connection with the animals we chase, and that's why I'm saying, like, I love the passion from turkey hunters that I see. Is just because, like, I get it. The passion's deep.
Yeah, and it's it's hard to understand unless you sit down kind of with somebody and understand the passion that is associated with it. And they can come off as pretty standoffish, or not the best to be around or want to communicate with sometimes. But it feels encouraging to know that someone who is easing into it is able to comprehend and understand that this is a lot of it's rooted from passion. It's not malicious in any means or anything like that. Because I think the misperception came from folks who thought that and thought it was just pointless malice to it, and they were the ones that were just incorrect because they were kind of bluffing. They were posing as a turkey hunter, and they weren't necessarily what I knew them to be. And I think pleasantly surprised that the trends now are a little different than they were 5 years ago in the realm of turkey hunting. Of it could not have happened at a better / worse time as COVID time of year. Everybody want to try turkey hunting. They're about to learn from somebody, and they're if they get to YouTube and just pick on the first couple, they're going to kind of fall suit to folks who are selling what they're putting on the YouTube, and they're going to think, I gotta have this to kill turkeys. And then what's going to happen? They're not going to have appreciation. They're going to leave, and who's going to be there? Passing the right things on. It could snowball so fast.
Yeah. How much does it frustrate you to see some of what I call is just gore porn?
Yeah.
I mean, how much?
I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
How much does that frustrate you to see?
Pretty livid. Like
scale of 1 to 10.
I'll hit him. I'll fight.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Seriously. Yeah.
No. No. We're not kidding. The reason I say that is I think, again, I come from a different perspective. And originally I was like, and not specific to the carnage. I think what I'm talking about maybe is the reaping or fanning birds. Like at first I was kind of like, I don't see what the big deal is. And that was just because my mentality was like, it's a turkey. Like,
right.
Who cares? It's a turkey. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
And see, that's your loss, so to speak. I mean,
for sure.
Why would you do that? Just hit it with your car kind of deal. You know, I mean, I've seen them fight back in the reflection of a back window kind of deal. Obviously they're going to do that. Don't try to convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
But, I didn't have a problem with it. I had a problem with them saying they were turkey hunters. I'm like, you ain't, you still got to get accepted into it kind of deal. It's just like a not a rule, but like a given, I didn't walk around calling myself a turkey hunter until I had enough folks who I knew dang well where turkey hunters referred to me first. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to sit here and say, yeah, I'm a turkey hunter. I hunted turkeys.
Well, I think a lot of people are in that mentality that I was early on, which is like, it's just a turkey. And it wasn't until I really immersed myself into it, like, that it translated over from my love of the deer hunting, the pursuit, the game, and or really just the pursuit. And it quickly translated over or spilled over into the turkey side once I just like really immersed myself in it and started doing it and experiencing these turkeys kind of hand on or whatever, and actually living and breathing and doing it. You know, when you kill one and you look at the colors, and it's like, again, I'm not trying to be too freaking, fruity over here, but it's like, dude, they're the most beautiful creatures. Some of the most beautiful creatures God's created, like all the colors of the rainbow in their feathers.
And they're all different.
They're all different. We just, Slade and I just killed one.
Awesome one, by the way.
Yeah, with like solid black wing feathers.
That's cool.
And had real copper in like the back part of the wing. I'm sure you know the specific areas that you would call that, but I don't yet. But my point is that like early on, I had that perception where it was like, it's not that big of a deal.
It's a bird,
And I think a lot of people are probably in that place when they see turkeys, getting their heads chopped off with broadheads, that they kind of don't, like, it's not that big of a deal. Because I read comments and stuff like that, and it's like no one's really standing up for the turkey. And when someone does, there'll be some people that chime in and they're like, oh, way to be, you're soft, this, that, and the other. It's like, it has nothing to do with being soft. It has nothing to do with, here's what it has to do with: respect for the animal.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that shooting a turkey in the head with a guillotine broadhead.
Right.
I'm not arguing that that's not an ethical, clean kill. I'm not arguing that. That bird, if you hit it right with a guillotine, it's going to kill it
about as instant
instantly.
As you can get.
My big issue is when you highlight that moment and you put it out there because you know it's going to go viral. You are not doing it for the love of hunting. You are purely doing it for attention, views, and likes.
Yep.
You are highlighting the gore porn, the gore of that deer's or that turkey's head being chopped off. That is the moment you are highlighting and showing the world. I don't even care about, the non-hunting public's going to look at that and be like, oh, I don't even care. All I care about is the respect and love for that animal.
Yeah, that
is one of God's creatures. We hunt and we kill them. That is not to be taken lightly. That's why the stories of our deer are so important. It's like, it's more than just the kill. Way more than that. And so to me, it's like when you grab that highlight and that's what you're showing out there, that's what you are putting your name behind. It's like, to me, that is not, that is so wrong with who we are as like deeply passionate hunters. It goes against the grain, in my opinion. And I hate seeing it.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm soft.
Right.
I believe what I believe and I stand up for what I believe. And I cannot stand watching that stuff anymore.
And then there's very well put together right there. And there's certain instances I can think of, and it's just me. Nobody, no cameras or nothing. And I'm like fixing it up. I'm like, let me put that, do this and that, clean that off. For me to walk out by myself with this bird, it's just like, it's not for, like you mentioned, what if someone else sees this and they could, not what I'm, complaining about. This is
doesn't matter
between that one bird and now me. It wasn't me until I saw this, but now it's between me and that bird. Now I'm sticking up for it if nobody else will. And it's just that's, you look dumb. You look dumb when you don't know that, when you haven't realized that, kind of in my mind. And it's usually the folks who are calling other folks dumb for doing something. I'm like, close, but no. You're just regurgitating words you heard somebody else say at that point until you understand. Then you'll, folks will just as quickly clap back for the same attention. And there's literally accounts set up to just bash folks in the industry because that gets the same amount of attention and dopamine and everything and algorithm exploitation that they can get bashing the folks who are doing this, and they're chasing, they're taking their own drug kind of deal, and it's just a revolving door, and they're like, somebody forgot the real part, there's real to all of it, and it's kind of boring if you're not the one in that situation. So that doesn't get talked about as much,
I mean, imagine that what we did when we're hunting a deer is that we film. Now, obviously, it's not possible, but imagine if we did, where the way we kill a deer is that the head is chopped off its body, and it's just flailing on the ground, and we film that in slow motion.
Right.
And that's what we're showing people.
That's why you wake up in the morning.
Yeah, that's the highlight that we want people to see. Like, this is what we want to be known for, is that. To me, it's like, that is so wrong.
I don't even deer hunt, but I'd still fight you.
Yeah. So, anyways.
But I understand, like, put it into that perspective, and you're like, whoa, no. It's just, it's the same. I feel the same way about turkeys, And even with the advancements, that you have to have a line that you can draw. I can't draw it for you. Lee can't draw it for you. Everybody's got their own line. My dad can't draw it for me, kind of deal. And he kind of brought me into turkey hunting. But like, you can have these technologies, you can have these advancements and innovations and stuff, and then there's got to be, if you're dependent on a law to keep you from doing this or doing that, you're too much following. You got to have some backbone to yourself to say, that's, y'all do that, I'm not going to do that. And you got to be disciplined in it. And it comes very, very easily. You don't wonder where that line is. You know very well where it is when you reach it, and everybody reaches it. And there's like such a progression in becoming, I'm not going to say a skilled turkey hunter, because some days I'm not skilled at turkey hunting. I'm just seasoned. I've seen a lot. I've done it a lot. And you break it down, people who kill a lot of turkeys are people who go turkey hunting a lot. And that's really the only, difference there.
Yeah.
But, you do it enough, and you start figuring all this stuff out, and you start understanding where all this stuff's coming from. And, but it's just, it's pretty special. But
yeah. And I think that's like, I'm not even in your shoes, at the depth of how much you love hunting, turkeys. And it's like, I that's why, if it bothers me, I knew it was bothersome to you. Yeah. But that's kind of a narrative that I'm hoping that we can shine an appropriate light on to change a little bit.
Right.
That the narrative of, have a little more respect for these animals.
And there's even folks who I'm friends with who got the right words, but they're just kind of using an excuse to bash folks for reaping or for doing stuff like this. And I'm like, I don't agree with what they're doing, so to speak, but I don't really agree with what you're doing either. But, kind of like, I don't think this is the best approach we can have. It's going to take some action and doing it the right way and explaining stuff. Like, a lot of folks think you're supposed to step on a turkey's head because of a boot commercial. Well, guess why the boot commercial wants people to step on the head? Because people take pictures of their boots and they sell boots. Everything comes down to money a lot of times. But folks, especially like y'all who are, your money's off of views. It's an intangible kind of deal. It's you have an opportunity to be real. A lot of folks don't have that opportunity. I've talked to folks who've been in the industry for a long time, and they want to be, but they can't, because they're not selling an intangible. They're selling things that are far too tangible that if they don't, other people's livelihoods on the line kind of deal, and they have to make a point to make sure this seems this way or seems that way, and that's not hunting, that's work. To them, and I've talked to some who don't regret it but hate it. They're not hate that they're doing it, but like hate that's how it is. Know. And I just have a little remorse for that. I'm like, I can see how you can get caught, like, lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Very easily. And I just, keep that in mind with how I approach different things. And I'm like, I don't have to convince anybody to love turkey hunting. I just encourage them to go. They got it. They'll love it. There's no getting around it. They can't. I feel bad for introducing some folks into turkey hunting, because I know their personality is an obsessive, addictive personality. I'm like, I wouldn't go if I were you. Yeah. Kind of deal.
Stay away.
Some days I don't wish it on my worst enemy. I'm like, I wish so badly I didn't. I never went turkey hunting.
Because it's so consuming.
Yeah. It is not. it has influenced my life in so many ways. I would be so much richer. I would be doing this and that, and I would have accomplished this and that and this and that, if not for a bird that's been dead for 6 years. You know, like it has altered my life that much. But
the 80-something sit one.
Yeah, I mean that one, and then several more that took 2 days. But still, like the first day I met him, you know, it was enough for me to alter my life's course in 48 hours to make this happen, because it just consumed me that bad. It ate me so bad. And then the periods of thinking about them, you know, between the Mays and the Marches, you know, and the off season and stuff. Like there's stuff I can't even like go do, because I'm like, I can't drive by that road because I know I can't go turkey hunting tomorrow. And it's just going to remind me. It's like a breakup almost. It's just, you know, I'm like, I can't listen to this song today. Not today. Clouds got to go before
so
then.
when the season's done, is it all-time low depression or what?
Yeah. It's not a good day to talk to me, probably. Don't talk to me on June 8th. I think that's the first day that you really can't hunt them. And then really it comes in waves, dude. August sucks. I hate August with a passion, because
I love August.
God, I hate August.
I love it.
There's nothing worse than August, because it has just left me, and then now you're starting to find like feathers in your truck, or like you're finally getting around to like sweeping up a garage or a room, and you see borax on the floor, and you're like, God, didn't wake up thinking I was going to have to think about this today, but now I do. But after August, you've knocked out all of those just kind of, blind sides that you come across. You open your console and there's a spent shell in there. You're like,
oh man, it's that bad.
I need a warning sign. Like, don't.
It's like
I don't open like certain boxes. I don't go in certain rooms in my house.
It's like finding an old picture of a girlfriend from years back that tears you down.
And I wait until January. I have to like very strategically, and it's hard owning a turkey hunting company and not thinking about turkey hunting for 9 months, because I'll be in a bitter mood, if I have for some reason have to see what size pants these are, because we're designing something, or we're in the R&D part of a project that I have in a vest, and I'm like, man, we're about to sacrifice a lot of money because I don't have the heart to open my vest right now. It's gonna have to wait a month. Like, we can't get, I'm sorry, so and so overseas, whatever we're doing. Like, you're just gonna have to understand, I'm not going in that room for another month. Y'all have to pick up, in a little while, but I can't do it. And I'm serious, a heart attack won't, and folks who know me. I mean, they don't think it is crazy. It is. I mean, it's not even patterns. It's just it's just who I am. And I know other folks are like that, so it's not just a me thing. I mean, I like some days I really, really hate that I'm a turkey hunter, and I don't wish it on nobody, but I can't help it,
Yeah. I get it, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
Because the deer thing is, I'm the last of my friends that's not married.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of deer. 100%. And, lucky for me that I think there's more to do year round for deer.
Yeah.
It's like they shed antlers. I obsess over hiking around and finding them. And then it's like, well, then you start to see them popping out. They're starting to grow out a little bit. I get really excited putting minerals in and like watching them start to grow throughout the summer. And so there is something to be kind of excited about for me year round on the deer side.
Yeah.
The turkey thing, and I'm just not there yet. I feel like I'm progressing, but I don't get excited about turkey season until it's turkey season.
Yeah.
Until I hear that gobble, and then I get excited about it. Yeah.
I wish I had that.
I'm not there to that level where it's like I can't think about anything else.
I'm running outside, like stopping interstates, trying to see if a certain flower's bloomed yet.
Really?
I'm literally, my kids are in the car, like in danger. I'm like, I think I just saw one. Because if I see one of those, it's 6 weeks and 2 days till they're on. And I have to have that. That's all my eyes can look at is the sides of the roads as I'm driving, seeing if I can just see this one peculiar purple flower. That's the first. Because when that comes, screw the groundhog. When that comes, that's when I know when spring's coming, and that's when I can breathe.
Yeah.
I can breathe.
It's almost here.
It's coming. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna get to hunt turkeys again. Like, because the whole time I'm like, I might not. Something could happen. What if I never do? But when I see those, I'm like, I'm probably gonna make it.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get there.
We're close.
Yep. And that's. I love that way more than hunting turkeys. That anticipation, that 2 weeks,
the
February.
build up to
yeah.
it.
I mean, I'm an anticipation guy. Way more than the product. Way more. I have so many projects, Spring Legion related and stuff like that. Like, I almost didn't publish both of those. I got through writing them. I was like, that's what I was looking forward to doing, was writing it and reading it. And then like, man, you just got to press 6 buttons and like you can make money off of it. Other folks can read it. I'm like, yeah, but that's not why I did it. I did it for the process of doing it, just to prove to me that I can measure all these words out and see how many lines are on here and make a book. Now I know I can write a book. Now I want to know if I can kill this turkey. Well, the anticipation of thinking about that turkey, and when the hunt happens, it's kind of like there's an anticipation there, but it's not the same. And it's a nervousness, and it goes away. And then, for a few seconds, it's not there at all. It's just kind of a numb feeling, but the real anticipation, when you can just kind of get that feeling from nothing at all, you just kind of remember, just think of something, or like if you and I went fishing and we're in, September or something, and we're going to, scout out some deer land, and we're leaning on the hood of your truck, and it kind of starts popping. It's like your engine will do as it's cooling down. But that reminds me of listening for turkeys. So I go back to February, and that, like, there's an adrenaline there that comes from just those peculiar pops in the motor. If I hear that just walking down the street, the fire's lit, and I gotta.
So you're like a crackhead.
Yeah, literally. I mean, like, that's all. I mean, it's just literally, I gotta steer my path accordingly. Yeah. So that I don't have a little setback or something like that. It's just but there's nothing you can do, and I hate it because like, in odd comparison, like, man, I wish we could go back to the college days or whenever it was, but like, you can go back to that town. Those people aren't there. That building's not even there. That's now like a barber shop, where y'all used to hang out. You can go turkey hunting, but they're not like, they depict what happens in the woods. You can risk whatever the fine is, $125. You take a shotgun and wear your turkey vest in the woods and try to kill one, but you're not going to go turkey hunting, in July. It's there's no control over it. So, I mean, I guess a crackhead at least has an opportunity to fix his, scratch the itch. Yeah.
You can do crack year round. You can't hunt.
Literally helpless over here. It's even worse than being a crack addict. But
man, that is too funny.
Man.
So both your books, you've written 2 books, right?
Yep.
Ballad of a Turkey Hunter.
Ballad of a Turkey Hunter was first, and then Any Given Spring Morning, I wrote 2022.
Okay. Yes. The last book I read was a Where's Waldo book.
Really? Me too.
Lots of pictures.
Yeah.
I'm just
Where's
kidding.
Waldo?
But I will. I'm very ADD, whatever. Like horrible attention span. But I will sit down and I will read A Ballad of a Turkey Hunter.
Well,
you read yours first, and then Tom Kelly second.
If I have a copy, I'll get you a copy of the Legion. No one else will. But
was it how long did it take you to write those books?
2 weeks. First
quick.
one, 2 weeks. Yeah.
So pretty quick.
Yep. I had COVID and wanted to write it. But that's the difference. It took me 2 weeks to write the first one. A little longer than that to edit it, because I made like seasoned English, and then I kind of hired out the process. I literally had a ruler going through books and like, how many spaces does a margin make? I don't know what a margin is, so I'm making margins with spaces. I just typed it on Word, and counting the lines of this book and making that many lines and how to format it, what sizes and stuff. That took a lot longer. And I literally, like, the editor, quote unquote, like if I had to, like, give proper credits, is my buddy Pate, who took honors English that I couldn't get in. I'm like, man, Pate can figure this out. I gave it to one buddy, Seals, who co-hosts podcasts with me sometimes. He returned the book in like one evening, deer hunting. Was like, nah, man, that's good. Mm-hmm. Pate had red marks everywhere. So me and Seals were in the same class. He didn't even catch any of the mistakes. Pate was like, that's not a thing. You can't just say
You're
that.
Making up words.
That's literally not a word. I'm like, all right. Some of them we kept, but my buddy had a print shop, printed most of the original ones, and but the second one, which I didn't really plan on writing. I was just going to write one book and that'd be it. I had 20-something years to think on it. Second one, it's written in memoriam of my son William, who died the same year, shortly after being born. He's a twin to my daughter, who is 2 now, Eva. But that was the only thing I could think of was it winds up being a collective of stuff that I had reserved to tell him, and that I wanted, and half of it was already kind of written down, bullet point style of stuff. If something happens to me, he will still have. So with him being gone, I wanted it to be a chance to tell the world about him, even if only through ink and paper, have a chance to know about him, and then kind of, understand, the circle of everything, and then and they get put to use. If somebody can read them now, since he won't be able to, but it's a lot of the same. It's in the same vein as Ballad of a Turkey Hunter. It's equally the same amount of how-tos and woodsmanship and culture of turkey hunting. And I mean, there's some stories in there that'll take some turns. You're like, that is not what I thought this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Just been put in a lot of them situations. It's I've always liked writing. It's kind of fun to me, so to speak. Not saying I'm good at it or anything, but I would much rather write an email than leave a voicemail, because I get to think, and it's sometimes the only way I can put it's like drawing, it's you get to
express
create something,
Yeah.
Right. And I'm the biggest critic over them. And like, I want this word to have this on the end. I want this to say this, and this is the only way I can say this, and rest assured that they'll understand the significance of this moment. That's the only way I can think of it. And the simplicity side of, somebody who's reading it and does understand where it's coming from, or has felt the similar, like, your buddy's story of the deer, having an experience where I can relate to makes me appreciate that so much more. It's the only thing that I can think would make me emotional about a deer is, had I not had that, a like situation, I'm like, I know that's a big deal, a little stuff like that, and there's a lot of stuff that I've learned along the way, the hard way, turkey hunting, how to kill a turkey using crows and squirrels. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do that. You can do it all kinds of different ways. More lessons learned the hard way and what not to do again. And then there's some things that I'm still just going to categorize as theories. They're not facts, but I'm pretty sure of them.
Yeah, I think I've got theories as well out there on my side where it's like, this might be real. I don't know.
I'm on to something.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get shot down real quick. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I didn't tell nobody that.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that about your son. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously super sorry to hear that, but.
Yep. He was twin to Eva, who's my daughter. They came in March 22. Yeah, 22. And, I said it to Hunting, Alabama, and the doctors called me and told me to turn around. So it's not something you want to hear as a dad, a new dad especially. Haven't been a dad but a week or so. But I mean, it goes in the line of, there's a lot of, first jackets and 410s and stuff that I've held on to so long. Don't have the opportunity now. I was able to, mention them, if nothing else in this book, to get that out there and do, and the dedication is dedicated to him. There's a lot of things, hidden, things in the cover art or graphic and stuff that will make more sense as you read the book and stuff like that. And none of these books are in order. You can read the last paragraph, and then the first, then the second, then the fifth. They're all just one singular, beginning and end. There's no order to them. But yep. So kind of made sure of that. It might be the last one I write. I don't know. It took longer to write, and the last chapter is kind of his chapter, and I wrote that the day it was published. I wrote it all, got it, halfway edited, and I was like, I got to do this. I got to write the chapter. And I knew, in the outline that was going to be the last chapter. I just hadn't written it, and I wanted to, wait as long as I could, and then I was like, if I don't do it today, they're not going to get it by turkey season. So wrote it, published it. I don't know if I've ever read it, but yep. So that was the motive behind it, so to speak, the second one. And it's cool because Ballad Turkey Hunter kind of stays hovering around bestsellers in multiple categories on Amazon and stuff, especially, February to March. But just for like a day, finally, Any Given Spring Morning jumps up there to number one. And it meant more on his behalf than it would mine, because, I mean, it's kind of, Tom Kelly's written 70 books, I think, but everybody talks about 10th Legion was the first one. He kind of wrote it by accident. Everybody, writes about talks about the first book here. And the second one, just for it to get a little light there for a second. I mean, it stays 2 and 3. It's not like it's down, at the bottom of the list.
Sure.
But it never seems to top the Big Brother, it seems like. So it's pretty cool to see it hop on up there in a couple of them this year. which has been out for a year now. So, but
That's
most
awesome.
people gravitate to the green one.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. I think it's really cool that, when we are at NWTF or shows like that, I mean, you see Spring Legion stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that you've clearly left your mark and are continuing to do so on the turkey hunting, in the turkey hunting world.
Yeah.
And I think it's super cool that it's like deeply rooted in heritage, as opposed to, what gets more views and what may be more popular, these days. But it's like going back to the roots of why we are hunters. And I respect that a lot and admire that a lot. And I came into this podcast just like, we'll just talk about whatever pops up. Like that's the format I like the best. Like I didn't realize that I would be seeing the direct comparison to, the deep, insane passion on the deer side or beyond obsession kind of thing I've described that I see on the turkey side, where it's like, you are a crackhead.
Yeah. And it's good. I don't know many folks like that, so it's good to meet somebody who understands. And like you real, recognize real, however you want to put it. Like you can say stuff, and I'm like, he does know. I can tell. I can see it. This is the same thing. He understands with deer. And knowing that it's, some folks want to sit here and like, no, but you understand. I know you understand. I can tell. I can tell you've got it just as bad. I don't know if that's a compliment or a sympathy.
The jury's still out on that one. I think whether that's a good thing or bad thing.
I'm like, I hate it for you too, man. Yeah. Sometimes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, you got to understand you have control of your own life. You can always change it till you can't. And I'm bound by something I can't control for over 300 days of the year. I feel like. Yeah. It's kind of it's an odd description, but it is what it is. But I mean, big fan of Seek One, and really big fan of what y'all are able to do in the niche, that y'all are able to, really hone in on. I think it's really cool. I think it's really entertaining, and it's very informative. You got to get head on your shoulders and everybody else who's involved. Getting to see what, it's very, I admire the ability of taking a team and able to do stuff. As a brand, able to, the impact that y'all are able to have is really, really cool to see outside looking in. It's a big supporter, have been for a while. So
appreciate that. Yeah. This is, there's a lot of like synergies here where it's just like, I think we both get each other, and it's very few and far between out there. Right. But I appreciate you saying that and taking the time to sit down with me. And I'm still very early, very novice, just still trying to learn as much as I can. And for you to sit down with someone who's don't know much about it and talk to me a little bit, I definitely appreciate it.
Neither me nor you killed one today, so we
so we're even.
We both suck.
Yeah, and it's encouraging from our side, where it's like, we are not deeply rooted in the same turkey, like in the turkey hunting culture or heritage. We come from a different walk of life, but I think that you even just saying at times it feels like you're not welcome here. It can feel that way. Maybe not intentionally, but it can feel that way. And I think at times you can't help but take it that way from my side, where it's like, man, I didn't have a dad that took me, he didn't teach me these things. I wasn't 5 years old, going turkey hunting. It feels sometimes, whether it's real or not, that not that you're not welcome, but it's just like you weren't born into it in a sense. And so you feel like an outsider. Yep. So even just us, kind of taking our own roads into like learning the turkey hunting culture, and you even giving us the words of encouragement of like, man, I think it's great that, people are getting to watch y'all kind of progress and learn, and there's value to maybe other people that are trying to learn as well.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, when I have, God willing, kids of my own, they'll be born into that heritage.
Right.
And I can pass what I've learned
Mm-hmm.
down to them, and that so that the turkey lineage will
Yeah.
continue to grow strong.
And that's, I want to reassure you that we all went through what you go through as a novice turkey hunter. I mean, they're just so daggone quick to let you know that you messed up, and that they ain't got to do that, but they do it, and that's what eats at you. But
yeah,
and turkey hunters can be a little. Some of that is perceived as that way, and some of it are intentional. And I wanted to redirect that road of y'all. Everybody is welcome, but understand the house you're in, kind of deal. Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fine line between a lot of different things when it comes to stuff. When you're talking about something, and I'm speaking from the South. It's a little different everywhere else. Kind of excuse my friends, my fam here, kind of deal. Mm-hmm. They don't mean what they can seem like, you know. And it's also everybody can talk about it. I can talk about them, but y'all can't, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things. But I think it's really cool, and I want everybody to understand that I promise you, whatever y'all think is dumb or shouldn't have done, whatever, I've done way stupider in the past literally 30 days, I promise you, and have gotten, chewed myself out.
Yeah.
Written in my own comments, so to speak, like, you're an idiot,
Leaving comments on your own
videos.
Yeah,
just mental comments like, way to go, bud, you suck.
Yeah.
I think that pretty often, honestly.
So what's funny is, so my owl hoot is trash.
Yeah. But props to you. I'm telling you, I can't do it. I still can't do it. So you're ahead of me. You're beating me on that already.
Well,
just having the NAS to do it.
I've given up on it.
Well,
I'm using a hoot flute, or is that what it's called?
Yeah, and
Quaker Boy.
I will get ridiculed for using one, but I'm like, dude, I have to. I can't not.
So I have a Quaker Boy one.
Yeah.
I think it's like $6 or whatever. I was hunting with a guy in Alabama, and I was hunting with a couple buddies who have really good owl hoots.
Mm-hmm.
One of them tries it, nothing. One of them tries it, nothing. This kind of old timer from Alabama, he's real into all these old
Mm-hmm.
calls and classical calls and stuff. And he pulled out this old hoot tube or whatever. He just hit it, and I think it's the pitch of it.
It sounds like a dove almost.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pitch of it, I think, that they like. But that bird freaking just hammered.
You want him to gobble, or you want to sound like an owl? You can do one or the other, but let me break it out. And that's why, it works, and it's kind of a. I'm self-conscious of getting to a group of folks. I'm like, I'm the only one who can't owl hoot in here. I don't want to be in this room, kind of like it's going to come up. And I'm like, I got one of them hoot flutes, I guess, I suck,
But it play your game.
Right.
And that's what I'm learning is I'm playing my game that's effective for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I will continue to advance outside of those techniques that maybe I'll keep working on my owl hoot and it'll get better, and I'll keep working on my diaphragm call.
Yeah. You'll realize that you don't have to owl hoot.
Yeah.
Once you get there, enough times you're like, I'm just owl hooting because everybody else owl hooted.
Yeah.
The owls hooting anyway. They gobble at the other owls. They'll still gobble, and you're like,
It was funny though, because we were in Tennessee when I was hunting with Slade, and I pulled that thing out, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I said, "You watch." And I hit that thing, and they all just went, "Pow!" I just turned back to him. I was like,
"Rest my case," If it
ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And that's if you get that in your mind, you're gonna be all right. Just don't start fixing stuff that ain't broke.
Another buddy, Ryan Nitz. If you know him,
follow me on Instagram.
He sent a message and was like, "Tell Lee to throw that thing in the trash." I was like,
after we kill this turkey.
Yeah, I know. It's the only thing that works for me, man.
Dude, find that little road and roll with it.
There is no. I'm not gonna say right and wrong. There is no one way to do it.
Right.
Find what works for you.
Yep.
And get good at that.
I think there's a wrong way to do everything. So that would mean has to be right ways, but there's not one right way. There's multiple right ways, and do you kind of deal. Whatever works is what works. My brother, he carries a wing bone. I got tired of trying to get really good on the mouth call. Byproduct of that, if I want to kill a turkey, I'm using a slate call, and that's it. And learn to stop trying to be somebody that I'm not. Stop trying to be my dad, who was good at this and that, and moving when you don't have to move, and sitting still when you don't necessarily. Well, this old timer told me to be patient. Well, he meant be patient with your next move, not sit still forever.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline is patience. Patience is discipline. If you're disciplined enough to only, that's when patience comes into play, is when one's on fire and you have to have the discipline. Do not answer him at all. Don't move. Don't sound like a turkey's here at all until he gobbles twice. Not for 10 minutes, until he gobbles twice. The first gobble comes in 8 minutes, and the second gobble comes in 2.5 hours. That's patience of being disciplined. Do not do this. You'll kill him before then. It don't matter. You'll kill him. It doesn't mean when he's moving away, don't move.
Stay there.
You have to constantly move and adjust and stuff. But they're all going to be different. No matter what you think he's going to do, he's not going to do it all the way. He's going to change something, and you're going to have to readjust. And if you're able to just not get starstruck by it and understand that if you go hunt enough, you're going to look into it. Mm-hmm. And you better freaking take them on behalf of me and everybody else who gets schooled left and right that people don't necessarily know about. Take the one where he just kind of reads the script and walks in there, because you're going to wish you would have.
Yeah.
Don't make it harder than it has to be.
Yeah.
Because that's easy to do. And, it doesn't matter what camo you wear. If you're sitting in the shadow and that's the best there is. That's the best camouflage there is just still and quiet and, sit down and shut up. And that's, more turkeys have died on behalf of silence than any call on the shelf, bar none. You can kill them with knowing when to not call more than whatever ad you read and been,
and that's what
by.
That's what I've learned here recently.
Yep. You'll go from killing a few to a lot once you figure out what you can get away with movement wise, and that being shadows and how turkeys see. Turkeys are able to see the ultraviolet spectrum that humans don't even obtain the ability to. Mm-hmm. There's stuff on your clothes and stuff. That color looks different than that. These greens look different to you, but they don't to a turkey. That's just two different things that are a light tan. Well, one glows purple to a turkey. So knowing how to limit those opportunities or a fault is huge, and just understanding that sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't, but a lot of times it can be altered by what you're able to not do instead of what you're able to do, if that makes sense.
Well, what's the best way that people can find your books, find you guys on social media?
Spring Legion across the board, no spaces, nothing. Website springlegion.com. We got everything from TikTok to Instagram, YouTube channel too. We're getting some stuff figured out on that on the editing side. But all that, and then the books are there. Books are also on Amazon. You can find them there, and we're dabbling. We're going from making T-shirts and stuff to actual hunting stuff, and a lot of cool things in the works. That we're not talking about yet, but a lot of the stuff that just comes out, I've already forgot. I put in the back of my mind. I'm like, I don't know, knock the price down, margins to whatever. I'm worried about this now. Just give these away. That's the old news now. But I forgot people are just learning about them. Like, this is awesome. I'm like, but wait, kind of deal. Already on to the next one. But we got a lot of stuff. So go check it out and learn up on it. And it's all nothing's really outsourced at all. I hope one day we will be. I didn't used to think that we're going to do it all ourselves. I'm like, So we might need a old support agent at some point, kind of deal. But
good problem to have.
Yeah, ecstatic, very, very blessed to do what I do. It's one of those things. I've quit a lot of jobs to turkey hunt, but I don't think turkey hunting is my job. It'll never be my job. If it ever comes down to it, A, I'm losing the passion. B, I'll be fired before I get a paycheck. Because, every time you go out there, you have a chance to lose. And that's what I'm addicted to, is finding out whether I'm going to win or lose today and how I'm going to win or how I'm going to lose. Because, it ain't never 100%. It's far from it.
Well, we need to turkey hunt together sometime.
Absolutely.
We definitely need to do that.
Absolutely.
So we'll figure out when to do it.
Absolutely, man. I would love nothing more.
Well, we went over 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That was a good conversation.
We can go on more if we need to.
I know. We really honestly could. Well, so maybe we'll have to do it again another time.
Yeah.
But again, appreciate you, working with me and finding a way to cross paths here.
Heck yeah.
Sit down and talk a little bit. So
man, all roads lead to Edward Jones and the Square of Marietta.
Oh yeah. On ATL.
Yep.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.